BP added more than $70 billion to the U.S. economy in 2022. Investments like acquiring America's largest biogas producer, Archaea Energy, and starting up new infrastructure in the Gulf of Mexico. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
Welding instructor Alex DeClaire knows VR training platforms like Forge FX help students master their skills.
There's a big learning curve with welding. Virtual reality simulates that exact muscle memory that they need.
Learn more at meta.com/metaverseimpact.
I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Welcome to News du Jour. You may be wondering, why am I, Annie Bowles, here hosting this podcast? I usually start by telling people I'm a political baby. You see, my parents met working on Capitol Hill. By the time I was 2, I had been in my first political commercial and even got lost crawling around the West Wing. Don't worry, Al Gore found me. My family then moved abroad when I was 9, and I attended an international school in Brussels with kids from all over the world. And it is this type of global perspective that I also bring to our show. I graduated from American University in DC after studying political science and art history, as well as interning on both sides of Capitol Hill. I even interned down the hall from where my parents met. I'm now pursuing a professional certificate in journalism at NYU in conjunction with Rolling Stone magazine. I guess I was always that friend in the group who cared deeply about not just what was going on politically, but also globally. I often kept my own friends informed through high school and into young adulthood, so I guess I've always done a version of this show. I'm genuinely passionate about following the news, and I'm here to break it down for you guys every weekday. We always strive to be a calmer space to get your news. Or, as one listener put it, like getting your news from a well-informed bestie. I'm so glad you're here. Hey guys, so lots of fun things to tell you about today. Friday was an action-packed day for this little show. I typically work Sunday through Thursday because I produce Monday's episode a day ahead of time. I produce all the episodes the night before. So I typically work Sunday through Thursday and take Friday off to be with my son. But that was just not going to happen this past Friday. We did 2 bonus episodes that I am so excited to air for you guys, but the most important one was with Strictly Stalking, a podcast that I have been listening to for at least 4 years. I think I've actually been listening to them since they launched. I rarely miss an episode, and let me tell you guys, when I heard that intro and I was going to be on the show, my stomach absolutely dropped. It was such an insane moment because I never thought I'd have a reason to be on their show. But the April Wilkins case involves stalking so heavily that they wanted to help shine some light on April's case, as well as the subject of criminalized survivorship in general. So they had me on to sort of explain my role in this case and why I'm shedding light on it, why I'm using this platform to shed light on it. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Jamie Beebe and Jake Dubtula over at Strictly Stalking for such an incredible interview. They asked the most thoughtful questions, and I think it'll really shine some light on who April is as a person, as well as, criminalized survivorship in general. I'm so excited for it to air. It comes out on April 23rd, so mark your calendars. The other interview that I did on Friday was with Nikki Adamando and Michelle Horton. Their case is, and I say their case, it's really Nikki's case, but Michelle is Nikki's sister, and she put her entire life on hold to raise Nikki's kids while she was in prison and to advocate for her sister to be released. And that's exactly what happened. In Nikki's case, it's very similar to April's case, where domestic abuse escalated, was very well documented, and it escalated to the point where Nikki was forced to protect herself from her abuser. She shot and killed him, and as a result, she was serving a life sentence in prison, separated from her children. Michelle Horton, her sister, did everything she could for her sister, Nikki, and as a result, Nikki is on the other side of the bars now. She is free. She's living with her children again, and it has been an emotional roller coaster. Nikki gave us, News du Jour podcast, the first interview that she's given to anyone since she has left prison. And to say I'm honored that she chose us, it doesn't even begin to cover it. It's just, I really appreciate being trusted with such an important big step. And Nikki was so brave to come and sit and be with us. She had a little support puppy in her lap the entire time, but she did such a great job. And I'm so excited to share this episode with you guys. It should be available sometime this week in your regular News du Jour feed. So definitely pay attention to that, because our entire bill is based off of the bill that freed Nikki. And speaking of the bill, I think I've updated you guys before, but the next step is House Committee. We don't have a date for that yet, but as soon as we have one, I'll be sure to keep you guys in the loop. I'll let you know how it's going, and any updates there might be about SB 1470, you guys will know right here at the top of the episodes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the episode finally. We have 2 Trump-related court updates for you guys. Then we have 2 updates to do with Israel and Gaza. We're going to discuss a DA in San Francisco who is filing murder charges for fentanyl-related deaths. And then we're going to discuss climate change and some unexpected ramifications, aka the snake catching business is booming. Let's jump in. So like I said, we're going to kick off with 2 Trump-related court updates. First and foremost, Fani T. Willis. Do you guys remember the whole Fani T. Willis debacle? She's the woman who's prosecuting Trump in Georgia, and Trump's team is dragging her affair with a colleague into the forefront. Well, a judge has finally made a call on this subject, thank God, finally, where he basically said, listen, one of the 2 of you needs to step down so as to get rid of any appearance of impropriety. Fani legit built this case with her bare hands from the ground up, so Nathan J. Wade, the colleague that she may or may not have had an intimate relationship with, stepped aside. This way, there's no murky water when it comes to this case. Not that their relationship had anything to do with Trump's charges, but now it is cleaned up and hopefully put to bed so that we can tackle the real issues at hand, which are a little more pressing than an inner office affair. As the daughter of a couple who met in the office, I wish them Godspeed. Next up, Trump's Manhattan trial is pushed back a month. So a judge has now delayed President Trump's trial in Manhattan to at least mid-April. According to the AP, this is because prosecutors in the case have apparently started sending over more and more documents to the defense that will serve as evidence in their case, like to the tune of 100,000 pages worth of documents. Trump's attorneys were like, wait. We're going to need way more time to review these. They asked for a 3-month delay, but they got 30 days. Prosecutors did not object. Okay, that wraps up all our Trump updates for today. Let's head over to Israel and Gaza. So aid has been flowing in to Gaza via the northern Gaza Gate, through a floating terrace, and from Cyprus. Like I said, aid has begun flowing more readily into Gaza through northern corridors and new sea routes. One ship delivered 200 tons of humanitarian supplies, food, and water on Friday, coming all the way from Cyprus. It is still not enough, but things are moving. According to NBC News, or sources from NBC News, Israel is also weighing the option of using private security contractors to distribute this aid so as to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. We'll definitely keep you guys posted. And then I wanted to touch on Hezbollah firing over 100 rockets into Israel. So according to the New York Times, the Lebanese militant group called Hezbollah has just this past week fired over 100 rockets into Israel. They are, of course, key allies with Hamas. It wasn't clear how many of these rockets actually hit their intended targets and which were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome system, but Israel did retaliate and they hit several Hezbollah targets as a response. It is important to remember that Hezbollah has been firing rockets daily at Israel, but this was just one of the most serious barrages since the war broke out. All right, and that wraps up Israel and Gaza for today. And I wanted to discuss a DA in San Francisco who is filing murder charges for fentanyl-related deaths. So many of us have asked ourselves, when and how will this fentanyl crisis ever end? It is so insidious. It's taking the lives of average people who are not even deep into addiction. People who occasionally dabble at parties are being found dead the next morning because of fentanyl. So many young lives cut tragically short. Well, in San Francisco, a DA is trying to use the law to fend off further fentanyl tragedies. Prosecutors for the DA's office have begun prosecuting fentanyl suppliers as murderers. As we know, even tiny trace amounts of this drug can be fatal, and we've seen a lot of incidents where someone didn't even know they were digesting it when they died of it. Mike Hestron of Riverside County, California, has been the first prosecutor in California to achieve a guilty verdict in such a case, according to the New York Times. But defense attorneys don't seem to think his approach will be helpful. They actually find it pretty dated. They also think that it's unconstitutional because there's no actual law that says a drug-related death constitutes a murder. They have brought multiple examples like, cigarettes and drunk driving. When someone dies of substances that they consumed willingly or other substances besides fentanyl, are those murders? And that's one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle here, in my opinion, is that a lot of people don't actually know when they're taking fentanyl. A lot of people have had loved ones, many of them very young, who believed that they were taking a prescription drug that they'd tried many times before. Loved ones of people who died in these situations argue that it was murder because they were sold something extremely dangerous and extremely addictive that they weren't intending to buy, that they were deceived into taking something, again, very dangerous, very addictive for predatory reasons. That said, their loved one bought street drugs. And the fact of the matter is, when you buy drugs off the street, you don't know what you're taking. They are not regulated, and there is no recourse legally for being duped, at least as of now. But Riverside County is testing the boundaries with that and prosecuting these cases as murders anyway. We'll definitely keep you posted to see if this tactic has any sort of effect on fentanyl-related deaths. And for our last story for today, with the climate changing, certain industries are going to boom and others are going to bust. Snake catching? Well, you could say it's experiencing a major boom. Yes, you heard me right. There is an industry for snake catching. With global temperatures rising, snakes who are cold-blooded, they don't have to hibernate as long, you guys. And this means that they can be out and about more, which means they are encountering humans more. Humans don't tend to like this, which leads them to frantically call pest control services that catch snakes professionally. So where exactly are these snakes being found? Well, according to the New York Times, you can think in the grass, but you can also think under pianos, in pools, at retirement homes, and even in prisons. In Australia, snake catchers have reported receiving as many as 35 calls in a single day, all to remove unwanted snakes. Snake catching typically involves a long rod with a metal hook that the catchers use to lift the snakes gently and remove the snake into a bag and take them to an area where they are less likely to run into humans. Snakes have also been active longer into the night for the same reason. Temperatures are staying higher later. So as we head into the warmer temperatures here in Oklahoma, throughout the U.S., and throughout the Northern Hemisphere generally, be careful for snakes. If you find one, the best thing to do is move away from the animal and call a pest control service and give them some business. Business is booming, baby. And that for today is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "You can't hold a man down without staying down with him." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the news du jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/Sugar Free Media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from
Across America, BP supports more than 275,000 jobs to keep energy flowing. Jobs like updating turbines at one of our Indiana wind farms and producing more oil and gas with fewer operational emissions in the Gulf of Mexico. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. That means win or lose, every bet brings you closer to the types of perks only Caesars can offer. Like hotel stays at over 50 iconic destinations, bonus bets, daily profit boosts, tickets to the game, dining, and so much more. Whether you're a new or existing customer, Caesars Sportsbook is always rewarding. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Caesars Sportsbook. Don't just spectate, participate.